strive to create a lasting peace. The opening hymn is in the teal hymnal, the soft cover, number 1000, Morning Has Come.
This is one that is not terribly familiar. We've done it once before. So feel free to sit out the first verse and listen to the choristers choring. Also, to be noted, the piano player who wrote this thing put in a little more razzmatazz than we need, and so we will skip at the end of each verse the little tinkle, tinkle, tinkles, and at the beginning. Morning has come.
One of the ways we care for our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. There is a time for announcements at the end of the service. We begin with a silent sharing and invite you one at a time to drop a pebble into our communal bowl. If you have a brief joy, concern, or milestone you'd like to share with the congregation, please come to the front and share it using the microphone. Please say your name. Joys and Concerns time is meant for sharing personal reflections of joy and matters of personal concern. For matters related to AUUF operations, please bring them to the attention of the board.
My husband, I'm Cindy Ranke. My husband Mike's nephew, who is only, I think, 5 or 6 years younger than him, was close to him growing up. But Kevin grew up in a very dysfunctional family, and the last communications we'd had with him were very obscure, and we thought that he had totally disconnected himself. He called Friday morning, and he and Mike talked for 2.5 hours, and they reconnected with Uncle Mickey being back close to Kevin.
Hi, I'm Marti Keller. I'm speaking once again not as your minister, but as the mother of my daughter who's going through a continuing saga with breast cancer. This is actually the first good news I can give you, and though she's got some troublesome things going on, the surgeon said she does not have to have surgery in the next month, and that means she can, with her family, go on a trip on the Danube for Christmas and start her radiation in January. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Owen, and on Christmas Day, I'm going to be flying out to New Jersey. I'm going to be coming back on New Year's Eve, so I'm going to be hanging out with my cousins, and probably going to skip church next couple days.
Hey, I'm Meadows, and I just wanted to, thank you. I just wanted to say last week what a joy we had decorating cookies. The combination of folks that showed up to decorate, we decorated enough to fill 5 pizza boxes, and so had a lot of fun, and they looked great, so.
I'm Jerry McCreary, and this is my last chance to give a shameless plug for the play I'm going to be in. It'll be at the Jan Dempsey Center this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll be playing an Italian grandfather.
Hey, I'm Susan, and to follow up on Meadows' message, the Cookie Walk yesterday, which is a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity, did very well. We don't have the totals yet, but they did sell out of cookies early, had wonderful donations, between $800 and $1,000 worth of donations for the quilts, one of them being donated by Cindy Ranke. And so I appreciate everybody that participated. I'm sorry I didn't advertise it better. I will try and do better next year, but we did have a good presence, and I think it was a very successful event.
Hi, I'm Carter. I have actually had a joyous weekend. I got to spend some time with a friend yesterday who is going to be moving to New Mexico, but we met in Montgomery with our other mutual friend and just hung out, and it was really truly lovely to get to be in the same place for a few hours at one time and filled my heart. And then also, hopefully I'm not stealing anyone else's thunder, but it was a real great joy to be here for the auction Friday night. It is such a fun way to hang out with this fellowship in a different capacity than we normally get to, and to have other people, you know, come in who aren't always here regularly, but it's always just such a warm and inviting and festive, I guess, atmosphere. So again, I had lots of fun at the auction. I hope if you were here you did, and I hope if you didn't, you come next year.
I'm Aisha, and I really want to just follow up on Carter's joy. I wasn't able to be here for the auction this year, but can we just give Daryl a round of applause? Like, How organized, how meticulous, how well done, and I think Gary deserves some credit as well, along with the rest of the people who helped organize this auction. For UUs, this was really, really organized. I was concerned there for a second, but I hope it was a great turnout and I hope it was a good event. Okay, share your pictures. All right, I'm back. To all the joys, concerns, and milestones this morning, whether silent or spoken, may you be uplifted by this community and our common humanity. A religious community is like a river formed from the many streams of our individual lives, merging and flowing into the sea. The members and friends of this fellowship share our time, energy, creativity, imagination, vision, talents, and skills. Our metaphorical river also depends on the shared financial support to complement our time and energy. This is the second Sunday of the month when we give our plate to organizations suggested by members of our AUUF community and selected by our social action team. I invite our social action chair, Connor, to come up this morning to tell us a little bit about this month's recipient.
That's okay. Good morning. Is this working?
No.
Oh, go up to it. All right, how about now? This month's recipient comes to us via the U.S. mail, very old-fashioned. We got a letter from the Lee County Department of Human Resources letting us know about a project that they're working on to give a gift to every child in the foster care system in Lee County this season, as well as elderly clients and disabled individuals in Lee County that are also part of the DHR, have caseworkers. So they're raising money for Christmas presents and have written us a letter asking for monetary support to that end. So figured the timing was right, Christmas season. So the recipient this month is children in the foster care system via the Lee County Department of Human Resources. Thanks.
At this time, we invite you to give as generously as you are able in service of our mission. You may contribute online via PayPal at auuf.org/donate. If you are writing a check, make your check payable to AUUF, whether by check or online. Please note whether your donation is for your pledge or for our plate recipient. If this is your first time with us, please allow the basket to pass you by. You joining us at this hour is gift enough. Now the offering will be received with gratitude.
While I get hooked up with sound, I'm inviting all of our children, anyone who wants to come and remember what it's like to sit on the floor and be able to get up. Testing, can you hear me? So December is a very big month for religious holidays and secular holidays. And actually on the 22nd, I'll be doing a homily called One River, Many Wells. So we're going to be looking at that. But I just wanted to say that this coming week alone, there are two holidays that maybe you weren't so familiar with. One is Constitution Day. Let's hear it for the Constitution. And I think next year, I've done it before, maybe we've done it when I've been here, we're going to spend the whole service reading the Constitution, and that will be the service. But today, I'm going to talk about Human Rights Day, which is on the 10th. And the story is Small Places Close to Home, a children's declaration of rights. Before I start the pictures, this book was inspired by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's an important document that lists rights people everywhere in the world deserve to have. And former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt was really responsible for this happening in the United Nations. She believed all people in the world deserved the same rights and that human rights begin in small places close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. I am part of my family and the human family. I was born free and equal like each and every other person in the world. How many of us believe that? That we're all born equal to every other person in the world. I think we've been forgetting that. I deserve to live in freedom, in a just and peaceful place, and to be treated equally and fairly, no matter what I look like, how I speak, dress, or wear my hair, who I love, or where I live. It's up to me to respect the rights of others to do the same. I have the right to my own private thoughts. I am free to choose what I think and believe, and it's up to me to listen and respect how others think and believe too. You believe that? If you do, let's say yay. Yay. I have the right to my own body. Yay. It's up to me to respect the bodies of others. Yay. And act towards them with gentleness and goodwill. Yay. My school and community. Let's see what rights we have. I have the right to learn and get an education and the right to take part in activities at school and in my community. Yay! It's up to me to welcome and encourage others who wish to do the same. Yay! I have the right to feel safe wherever I go, at home, at school, in my town and my city. Yay! On ball fields and beaches and busy streets, or on wild and quiet mountain paths. Yay! And it's up to me, and this is really important, to speak kind words. Yay. And act towards others with an open, generous heart. Yay. My country and the world. I have the right to be an equal person under the laws of our land. Yay. I have a right to belong to a country. Yay. If my family and I are treated unfairly or persecuted, I have the right to seek safety. It's up to me to stand up for the rights of others who need protection. These are people called immigrants. Yay! I have the right to gather with others in a peaceful manner, to express my ideas, my opinions, my anger, my desire and action for change. Yay! And it's up to me to truly hear the voices and stories of others. Yay! I have the right to peace in a world where all human beings, as well as animals, birds, insects, fish, plants, and trees are treasured. Yay! I have the right to live on Earth and to work with others to restore and care for our planet and its wondrous mountains, wildlands, rivers, and seas. Yay! I have the right to dream of what I want to do in this world to make life better for all living things. Yay! These are my rights. These are our rights wherever we go in this vast, wide world and in small places close to home. Yay! Remember Human Rights Day, December 10th. Thank you.
Be open to learning. May your words bring truth into the world. May your hearts show love and your hands do justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Before we go into a moment of silence, it's actually going to be a little longer than a moment today. I want you to join me in thanking everyone that was connected to the service. I will do it every time. It takes all of us to do it, so thank you. So the congregation that my husband and I belong to in Atlanta, I hardly ever get there. He's there this morning. Is called First Existentialist. And we can talk about that another time. But what I really love about First Existentialist, and I really hate about First Existentialist, is that every Sunday morning we have to stay silent for 5 minutes. Woo! But we're not doing that today. But since I'm talking about solitude and finding silence and solitude wherever we can find it, I'm going to dare you to at least do it for 1.5 minutes. So I encourage you to get comfortable in your seats, to put your feet on the ground if you can, to ground yourself. If you want to close your eyes, sometimes that helps to focus. And to focus on your breath, your one precious breath. Focus on your breath. Breathe in and out. And we'll do that for about 1.5 minutes. You can open your eyes and get back into this space. Out of the silence comes healing and peace. When I was first raising small children was when I realized that solitude does indeed have a couple of different meanings. While it does mean generically the state of being alone, separate from other people, we may experience this either as a welcome freedom or an unhappy loneliness. No matter when those children were napping, and in those years they napped whether they chose to or not, I seized my solitude. I closed the door to their room at 2 o'clock every afternoon, and then I quieted myself And when I wasn't so exhausted that I had to sleep myself, I read, I mused, and I sometimes even wrote. The things I read in those days, as in fact I do now, were personal accounts, many of them, of journeys of solitude, written by women mostly in those years, but also some men. People who could just take off and be by themselves, and not just for a little while, who could, like the late Unitarian Universalist poet and memoirist May Sarton, create a haven of silence and solitude in a small New England town, which she portrayed in so many of her books of creative nonfiction, including her much-read Journal of Solitude. How many of you have heard of that? Yeah. Or May Sarton, very famous Unitarian Universalist poet. Sarton's world, or so she described it, was so opposite of mine. It was filled with perfectly arranged, homegrown, and hand-picked flowers, and perfectly polished floors, and hours upon hours of open and alone time to revel in nature and her love of solitude. It is in this best-selling book she wrote of both her inner and outer worlds, her garden, the seasons and daily life in New Hampshire, and as one reviewer noted, throughout everything, her spiritual journey as she grappled with her faults, her fears, her sadness and disappointments, like many journeys inward, valiant, sometimes violent, sometimes warm and wise. Sarton was not always holed up in her place of retreat. In fact, she also craved and was demanded to be in the spotlight of book tours and guest lectures, including quite a few appearances in UU pulpits. She traveled a lot, including trips back to her native country of Belgium. She had many, many friends, she had many lovers, many liaisons, and her journals reflected that as well. In fact, she began the Journal of Solitude by telling us, "I am here alone by myself for the first time in weeks to take up my real life again at last. This is what is strange. This is what is strange, that friends, even passionate love, are not my real life unless there is time alone to explore what is happening or what has happened to me. I hope," she wrote, "to break through into rough, rocky depths to the matrix itself. There is violence there, and there's unresolved anger. My need to be alone is balanced against my fear of what will happen when suddenly I enter the huge, empty silence if I cannot find support there in that huge, empty silence of solitude." In those years, of course, I envied her huge, empty silences, since mine were so terribly brief, maybe an hour or two, when I had the stamina to stay awake alone. Living my solitude mostly vicariously through the words and lives of others, like her, another childless female, Alice Keller, who's much less well-known, an unknown woman, I also read and relished. Her story about fleeing to Nantucket off-season with her German Shepherd puppy as her sole companion, and for 3 months every summer, walking the beaches, recording the interior markers of what she came to also write of as stations of solitude. Keller began by confessing that she did not consider herself religious in any use of the word. How many of you can relate to that? Not feeling religious in any sense of the word. Being religious, she wrote, requires a certain temperament, and she said she did not possess that temperament to any degree at all. No subject, she admitted, was too sacred for her to inquire into, and she asked too many questions to be a religious person. I never could consider, she said, just believe to be an adequate reply. I think she was a UU without knowing it, of course. So her stations of solitude in no way or shape, she emphasized, imitated Jesus' station of the cross, his journey of suffering on his way to crucifixion. She said that while the route of the historical Jesus began on a specific date, followed a certain line of travel throughout Jerusalem, and ended a number of hours later, the only similarity, she said, are that the stations of solitude for her, like those of the cross, mark out a journey that is a repeatable line of travel and that anyone can choose to take it. The line of travel is the process of shaping a human being, and the stations are the stopping place in the process. Keller, like Sarton, was able to literally retreat from her previous academic life by boarding a ferry in Boston and traveling 30 miles out to sea, south of Cape Cod to the Atlantic Ocean. She could stay as long as she chose and return as often as she chose, as long as her money and sanity held out. She spent 2 decades of solitary life, joining a long line of mostly childless women and men who had managed somehow to be alone, as she describes it, elementally. For that, she believes, no here will do. There's no here place where you can have solitude. Only, she wrote, to be away from everything familiar, every person, every relationship, and every circumstance. To be unbound. How many of you have experiences like that on a regular basis? Completely unfettered, completely disconnected, completely unbound. Well, that's why we're talking about it today. What she describes is the path or journey into solitude that is a classic one. This is a description of the classic journey of solitude. To remove ourselves completely from familiar geography and the culture of our lives. Over and over, we hear stories of retreating into the wilderness to be alone, to fast, to pray, to commune in solitude. In Native American practice, it is the ritual vision quest. Have you heard of that? Going out and away to seek spiritual guidance and medicine or power. Many great Native leaders and prophets, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Black Elk, and others, looked to these times for the guidance and sustenance of their people. In other cultures and places, these retreats into voluntary and intentional solitude help us through other transitions from one life stage to another. They help us through marriage, through midlife, through the death of loved ones, help us heal from stress, trauma, personal loss, to seek mastery over fears, to clarify values and intention, or to empower ourselves in some way. A recluse life is not a bearded, crazed one. Trappist monk Thomas Merton, whose works I also read in those years of secondhand solitude, corrected this misconception. He said, to be really mad, you need other people. To be really mad, you need other people. When you're by yourself, you soon get tired of your own craziness, and it's too exhausting. Merton was the best apologist for the life of solitude in modern times, some people say. He viewed community, he admitted, as the real sacrifice and longed to join those people, he wrote bluntly, on this miserable, noisy, cruel earth who tasted the marvelous joy of silence and solitude, who dwelt in forgotten mountain cells or in secluded monasteries, whose news and desires and appetites and conflicts of the world no longer reach them. He had, of course, some models, not only of the people we think about, like Moses and Jesus went out in the wilderness, like 40 years, 40 days, 40 nights. St. Anthony of Egypt, who was a famous desert father, who went out into the Egyptian desert for 20 years, emerging by his accounts, healthy, balanced, and full of sage advice. And then there was our own Henry David Thoreau and his friend Ralph Waldo Emerson, who developed whole theologies of solitude for us. We owe them a lot as Transcendentalist Unitarians, and I'm going to be talking some about Transcendentalist Unitarians this year. They gave us whole theologies of solitude, which blended a love of nature with a fiercely independent self-reliance. Thoreau once insisted, for example, that he never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude. So he found himself a pond, and we know what that pond was, just far enough from Boston so he could commune with the chickadees, and just close enough so he could traipse back for companionship and a little fame. So what does all this talk of 20 years in the desert, or in Kentucky monastery, or even 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, or even several months off the coast of Cape Cod mean to me, or any of the rest of us, whose lives are so much more fettered, because that is what has chosen us, or what we have chosen? How does this figure at all? Truth is, Those years with babies were islands of solitude for me compared to the years that followed as they grew older, when you couldn't banish them to bedrooms for mandatory timeouts and rest, where the houses I have lived with are constantly filled with sound and sometimes fury on an almost 24/7 basis, or the kind of deep silence I appreciated, or maybe a little classic music, with a beloved husband who needs music, lots of loud blues and world music, including the Burundi drummers all day long, most of the hours that he is away, and sharing at-home working space with me, forcing me sometimes, I will admit, to use my cell phone upstairs to call his downstairs cell phone, to ask him gently, I hope, please, please turn that CD player down, because I need some silence and I need some solitude. Making my frequent long car trips the time and place where solitude is most available to me somehow. Driving along in my own world, more often than not with the radio off, most of the time without the music apps on, letting my mind go its babbling way, finding unexpected moments of free-flowing thought, maybe even some insight and vision. That is why I so appreciated a reflection I wrote by Denise Roy, author of My Monastery is a Minivan, who drove her family around in an old Dodge Caravan van with peeling blue paint and 111,000 miles, and frequently felt spiritually disrespected. She wrote that she'd always imagined spending her days meditating, writing, maybe even changing the world, and found instead that when she grew up, she drove a carpool, a 7-mile route, picking up children here, dropping them off there. After one too many laps around the carpool track, she was craving a few days when she wasn't driving anyone, anywhere. And when a friend mentioned a silent retreat at a nearby monastery, she traded her car keys with her husband and off she went. On the last day, she noticed when she was sitting in the chapel that it had beautiful stained glass windows. My minivan has really beautiful stained glass windows, she observed. Then the comparisons began flooding in. I meditate, she said, in my minivan as I drive round and round every morning and each afternoon. I keep a rigid schedule in my daily life in my minivan, just like the monks. It was then she realized that her minivan might not be quite as good as a monastery in finding peace and quiet, but it was precisely the place she found herself more often than not, and where she found for herself the face of God, in her minivan. Spiritual guide Gerald May reminds us that all contemplative journeys are likely to include some aspects of 3 foundational dimensions of spiritual formation. The first is silence, which allows us to remember who we are and what our deepest yearnings are, whether the extended silence of a formal retreat or regular day-to-day times of quiet prayer and meditation. And then solitude, freedom from habitual restraints and compulsions of social interaction, freedom from concerns about how others see us, freedom to be fully who we are with what we call the holy. So there's silence and solitude, and the last might be surprising because it's right here, right now for you. Community. Thomas Burton once said that a true spiritual community exists to protect the solitude of its members, to hear and honor our individual stories of faith and desire, and share the nurturing experience of solitude and silence with others, which is just what you did, right? You shared solitude and silence with others in a community that values your solitude. So it's silence, solitude, and community, the components of spiritual formation. In doing so, we use our loneliness, our aloneness well, which is not easy, and that can be the hardest work of all. May it be so. Thank you. You're going to join me in hymn number 131 in the gray hymnal. Love will guide us.
This one, we know.
Not my day.
So our closing words are from Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, and it kind of ties together what the story was for the kids and what I was talking about. He said, "The right to be alone is the most comprehensive of rights and the right that should be the most valued." May it be so.
Please join me in these words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we part, anyone with a brief spoken announcement may come to the microphone.
Thank you, Aisha, Rev, Herb. We have 3 containers of the Mind, Body, and Soul, one of the decaf, and one of the hot water, and maybe, I don't know if that will be enough for the potluck or the board meeting, so we may make another container of the Mind, Body, and Soul if necessary. Thank you. Good.
Hello, Sylvia here, Community on Ministry, and just like last week, reminding those of you who have not had the joy of completing our brief, very, very brief questionnaire about the congregational, not the congressional, but the congregational support committee. And, even if you don't, just whatever, we just want to know what you think. You don't have to have experienced help from them. You're a member here. What you know, or maybe what you don't know. So we would be loving to hear from you. I'm going to send out on the listserv. At the back, there's still a couple of the blank ones that you do not have access to the listserv. You're not one of the very few people who do not email in this world, but maybe there's not that many. I'm jealous of you. So please fill it out. Thank you.
Just want to add, we're trying to close it out by. Oh, yes. Sorry, yeah.
But the deadline is Tuesday, so if you would, but please go ahead and do it if you haven't. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Robert of Many Hats. First of all, I want to thank Zenda for putting this into the week of UU. That tonight is the annual Tuskegee Christmas concert. It's a wonderful activity. If you get a chance, please avail yourself of this. At the same time, I have a concern about it. Most of you know there was a shooting on campus last month, and we have become a closed campus in that we have heightened security, and that means that you have to go one at a time into the campus, and it takes time. The concert is at 5 o'clock today. Normally I would say get there at 4 because it's well attended. I have an ID in the morning, and sometimes I have to wait a while to get through the gates. So kind of plan accordingly, maybe have carols in your car and snacks and stuff, make it a party. If you can go there, please try to do that, but just know that it's going to take a while to get to the campus.
And the drivers should probably have their driver's license handy.
Yeah, just look.
You talk about IDs,
yeah.
then.
So, but just be aware of that. Okay. Now, also holiday helping boxes. We're doing holiday helping boxes for the food bank. Meadows and the RE kids are decorating boxes today. We'd like to start filling them next week. I will send out a list today of the things that we will look for, and it's going to be alphabetized so that we all don't bring in spam, okay? But people will say, oh, can we give money to the food bank? We get more food with money. That is true. The food bank, the holiday helping boxes are really, really important for people who drop by and need food right away. And so it's balanced. It covers several days. It covers the family. So it's still very much needed, and the food bank really does appreciate our work with that. And then finally, Sunday services, okay? Sunday services, what makes us tick, like we're here every Sunday. Last week we had a wonderful lay-lit service with Lynette on singing the carols. Today we have another service led by Reverend Marti. I know there are ideas out there. We are recruiting all the time. We're looking for service associates. Thank you, Aisha. Service associates, keep it going, make it, back and forth kind of thing. So if you have an idea, please see me. And we're filling up spring, but it still needs to be full. So keep that in mind. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today is the San Manresica's market that they do every couple of months. It's truly one of the best markets, I think, in town for fresh produce this time of year. They've just really been creating something super special, and I think they deserve all the support we can give them. They're there getting ready now. It's at the Montessori school starting from 12 to 5. On Drake, yeah. Well, only Montessori school.
A number of people have asked about this. Yes, we are doing our annual vining. For those of you who have never heard of the vining, you come to our house. I have information right there behind Randy. And also I'll be sending out a reminder over the email. People come, they make stone soup. This is a multi-generational, multi-age, wonderful time. We make stone soup. We twist vines. Stone soup is an old style story where people bring what they have, and it starts with a stone in the water. Yes, the same stone every year. It's very clean. So they twist vines and wreaths. We have pods and pine cones and wonderful grasses. Y'all are welcome to bring that too. It's all on the handout. And you make vines. You make wreaths out of vines. It's fun, and we have a large yard. Kids can run around and just have a blast. So everyone's welcome this coming Saturday, 10:30 to 3. Very come and go, whatever fits your schedule. It's really a loose, fun time. More information on the email, and we hope to see everyone there.
What number is this?
I lost count, my dear. It's at least 30. I don't know.
Good morning, everyone. Randy Milius here. I just wanted to remind everyone that as our tradition dictates, with it being potluck Sunday, we're also going to be having our monthly board meeting at the Bush, starting at 12:30. So anyone who has any concerns for the board, you're more than welcome to come and spend a couple of minutes with us on that. And I also wanted to take the time to piggyback on what Aisha was saying, and great thanks to Daryl for his organization on the auction. He's the master. He's our auction guru. So
it doesn't happen by one person, I can tell you that. So I just wanted to thank everybody that took part in the auction, especially the auction organizing committee that we met every 3 or 4 days for a half hour just to touch base. Laura, Randy, Jim, Peter, and Emily. I think I got everything. So they were the ones that were generating these emails and helping me send out information. So it's not just me, it's everybody. And then the auctioneers, Carter and Connor and Gary did a great job. And the food and the drink, Kitty and Jerry, everybody came together, and there were people staying afterwards that didn't even sign up to help to clean up afterwards. So it was great, So it came off, and I wanted to report that we grossed over $14,000. We'll probably net about $13,500 after expenses for band and childcare and paper and things like that. So it was a great evening.
A very collaborative event, and that's what's typical of you, and we would love to see more of the same going forward. Thank you.
Speaking of late-led services, I am in charge next week. Look out! However, life got to be lifing, and I will not physically be present. So Gary is going to help me and be my service associate. And I'm just going to put this out there. I have a book already picked out. I own the book. I'm going to send Daryl pictures for the projections, but I need someone to read it next Sunday. So I'm not sticking around for potluck, so find me swiftly. If you know immediately, this is a job for you. If not, you can email, and if not, we will volunteer somebody. Ralph? Easy peasy. Thanks, Ralph.
So, as you heard already, it's potluck Sunday. Please stay after the benediction for coffee and conversation at our monthly potluck.